So, picture this. You've landed an interview for a job you really want. You're prepped, you're feeling good, ready to make a great impression. But the face on the other side of the screen? Yeah, it's not a person at all. Welcome to the new frontier of hiring, where your next interviewer might just be an AI.
And that quote right there from a reporter who went through it pretty much sums up the feeling, right? It's this strange, slightly unnerving new twist in the whole job hunting game.
For a lot of jobs these days, before you even get a chance to talk to a human being, you first have to get past an AI gatekeeper. And no, this isn't some far-off sci-fi concept. It's happening right now as the very first step in the screening process.
And we're not talking about a few niche tech startups here. This is going mainstream. We're talking about huge companies like Meta, Netflix, MasterCard, even Salesforce. The trend is definitely picking up steam.
So you gotta ask, why? Why would companies hand over something so fundamentally human, like an interview, to an algorithm? Well, it really boils down to two big promises: being more efficient and, supposedly, more fair. First, let's just talk about the sheer numbers. At really big companies, human recruiters are often so overwhelmed, they might only look at like 5% of the applications that come in. The big idea with AI is that it can actually engage with nearly everyone, making sure a great candidate doesn't just slip through the cracks. And that second promise is all about neutrality. The sales pitch is that a bot doesn't have emotions or unconscious biases like a human recruiter might. But, and this is a huge but, these AIs learn from the internet. They learn from data created by us humans. And that data is absolutely packed with our own biases. So, can a bot really be neutral if it's learning from our own messy, biased world?
So what's it actually like to sit across from one of these things? A reporter from The Verge decided to find out and put 3 of the top platforms to the test. Let's walk through what they discovered.
First on the list was a platform called Humanly, and their whole approach is to create a very realistic, fully animated, human-looking avatar to ask you the questions. This is a classic case of what's known as the uncanny valley. You know that feeling when something looks almost human, but something's just off? It's deeply unsettling. The reporter found the avatar so distracting that they literally had to look away from the screen just to focus on their answers.
Okay, next up was Code Signal, and they went in a completely different direction. No fancy animated avatar. Instead, they just used a simple static photo, kind of like a Zoom profile picture when someone has their camera turned off. Now here's what's so fascinating. Even with those super simple visuals, the reporter said this was the best experience of the 3. And why? Because the content was just that good. The AI was asking incredibly sharp, industry-specific questions, and it even knew some of the professional lingo. It actually felt like a real interview.
And the last platform they tried was a company called Eightfold. They decided to throw the whole human-like idea out the window and went with something totally different. Their interface was, well, it was just a pulsating circle. And while the reporter said it was easily the most robotic of the bunch, they actually kind of liked that. By not even pretending to be human, it completely avoided that creepy uncanny valley problem and let the candidate just focus on the questions. So this table really lays it all out, doesn't it? You've got Humanly's hyper-realistic but distracting approach, Code Signal's focus on great questions over fancy visuals, and Eightfold's abstract but clean experience. It just goes to show you there's no standard for this stuff yet. The whole industry is kind of just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. But look, beyond how these avatars look or feel, there's a much, much bigger question here: the risk of bias hiding inside what's called a black box algorithm. What really matters isn't what's on the screen, but how these things are actually thinking. It's really important we get what a black box is. Imagine you give your interview answers, that's the input, and you get a score or a recommendation, that's the output. But that whole process in the middle, how the AI made its decision, it's a complete mystery. Even the engineers who built it can't always tell you exactly why it did what it did, and that's a massive concern when people's careers are on the line. And this brings us right back to that bias problem. The AI learns by consuming just incredible amounts of data from the internet, our collective history, basically. That means it learns from all our societal biases too. It can actually learn to replicate them. And because of that black box, a company might not even know why their AI seems to prefer one type of candidate over another. This whole issue is at the heart of a huge legal and ethical fight that's happening as we speak. There's a lawsuit against Eightfold where the plaintiffs are arguing that these tools should be regulated just like credit agencies. You should have the right to see your score and understand how it was calculated. Eightfold, on the other hand, says their own internal audits are good enough. How this lawsuit ends could reshape the entire industry.
Okay, so this is the world we're living in now. Let's get practical. What do you actually do if you get that email and your next interview is going to be face-to-face with a bot?
All right, here's a quick little survival guide. Number 1, speak clearly. Your words are the raw data the machine is analyzing. 2, use keywords and metrics. The AI is literally graded on what you say, so go back to that job description and sprinkle those key terms into your answers. 3, don't be brief. Research shows people tend to give much longer answers to an AI, around 200 words on average, so feel free to elaborate. And finally, number 4, still ask a question at the end. It's just good practice, even if you get a canned response back. So after all this, it leaves us with one massive final question. In this push for efficiency and perfectly unbiased hiring, are we maybe losing something vital, something human? So I'll leave you with this. Who would you rather trust with your future career? A human with all their potential flaws and biases? Or an algorithm with all of its potential flaws and biases? The answer, it turns out, isn't so simple.